The commercial revolution was able to agriculturally, socially, and economically influence and shape Europe. In this video, we will be discussing the events or people that led to the start of the revolution and its effects that may have been helpful or damaging to Europe. We will also be including other factors like the principles of mercantilism, its definition, and how it is relevant to the revolution. Now, on with the video! The main contributing factors that contributed to the start of the commercial revolution was the European Age of Discovery. During this period, many Europeans took part in explorations and colonization of new countries that led to their discoveries of faster and better trade routes. An exchange of plants, foods, diseases, people, animals, and culture was from the connection between the Old World and New World of the Americas, Eastern and Western hemispheres. There were slower discoveries and it wasn't that populated then, but now, people make exciting journeys and discover products that are much more essential. A lot of people and customers were satisfied with the exchange of goods, so Europe concluded having an economy based on their commerce that flourished into the commercial revolution. During the period of the new monarchies, an economic system called mercantilism emerged and reached its peak with the rise of absolutist states. How is this relevant to the commercial revolution? Well, the main idea of mercantilism was that the wealth and power of a country would be best measured by its exports and riches that involved increased trade. One of the important developments during this process was how the characteristics from the feudal period shifted to a money economy. In the late 15th century, international trade in European currencies began to blossom and expand, making circulation more common throughout the continent. Early merchants grasped the seminal reality of this era. Money was wealth, since it gave its holder the ability to purchase other products and services. Different types of metals, especially gold of course, were mostly a big favorite to people as it was used to buy different products. Most of the people viewed foreign trade more than domestic trade as a much better method when it comes to obtaining gold. Finally, the exploration of the New World by Columbus in 1492 and the discovery of the sea route to India by Vasco da Gama in 1497 to 1499 both created fertile ground for the accumulation of such riches, while at the same time producing an even greater need for resources to conquer and defend these colonies and their foreign trade. All the factors ensured that the growing late medieval and early modern states adopted mercantilism as an economic philosophy that enabled them to adapt and attempt to exploit these changing systems. Since we've already discussed what caused the commercial revolution, what are the effects and changes that occurred later on? One of the most notable changes in Europe was its trade and economy. The commercial revolution's impact on Europe helped it create an economy based on its commerce. Through European exploration, the Europeans were able to discover more efficient trade routes that were faster and better than the ones they previously knew. They were also able to rediscover rare products and materials such as silk, spices, and gold. As the numerous expeditions continued, the Europeans were able to improve their standards of living, which greatly affected their market. As the number of gold imports increased, many more European consumers or customers were able to afford many of the goods that were now available to them. However, many more people sought out these precious goods, hence causing inflation. As the success of European commerce continued, its social classes had to adjust to its abrupt changes, in which the middle class, who were merchants and people that were vital to the growth of their trade, started flourishing. To prevent and reduce the loss of commodities that were being transported through the sea, European merchants developed the idea of insurance. Each merchant had to provide a specified sum to the buyer or seller with the destroyed or lost goods as compensation. What about agricultural changes? During the agricultural shifts in Europe in 400 BC, the only thing they were cultivating was wheat and grapes. They used lamp fabric to produce clothing from 400 BC to the Middle Ages. Agricultural land also plays an important part in trends in land usage throughout Europe. 39% of Europe's ground was covered by grassland and cropland combined. The following data represents the success and effect of the agricultural sector. Europe produced about 94% of ammonia emissions from agriculture in 2015, primarily from practices such as manure collection, slurry spread, and the use of inorganic nitrogen fertilizers. The CO2 emissions from peat soil which are drained for agriculture amount to 100.5 mt of CO2 per year and 67.6 mt of CO2 for forestry. With a total of 173 mt of CO2 emissions from drained soils, Europe is the second largest hotspot for peatland CO2 emissions. Agriculture is an important part of the food system and the diversity of food produced in Europe. Europe is essentially self-sufficient in most primary agricultural resources. It is also the single largest exporter of agri-food goods, including refined foods. Since now we're at the part of what are the effects of the revolution, what are some other important changes that have occurred because of this? Here are some of the ideas and practices that emerged from the revolution that made such an impact on medieval Europe. Banking. Lots of legal and religious advancements contributed to the establishment of the Western industry at the start of the 16th century. The interest was permitted to be charged, and profits were gained from keeping the income of other citizens. Because of the shortage of silver and gold items, banks on the Italian peninsula had significant problems performing at the top of the 14th century. Nevertheless, by the late 16th century, as a result of discoveries within the New World, enough bullion was available that even more citizens could hold a tiny low amount of hoard and used it as money. Population growth. The commercial revolution turned Europe from a local economy to a global one. Before this, most of the goods were manufactured for family use or sold in small markets near towns and villages. Apart from a few wandering traders, there was almost no way to ship goods to a larger population. However, as trading lines have blossomed between European countries, a whole new market opened up. Realizing that there was money to be gained, citizens started manufacturing products to be sold outside their local communities. Because of this, the population increased, and sadly, this caused overpopulation. This triggered Europe into having pollution around its towns and cities, which also caused sicknesses and illnesses to dozens and dozens of people. Now that we have explained the commercial revolution and its other components, we'll be ending this video. But before that, thank you so much for watching this video. All of our members would very much appreciate it. We do hope you were able to understand at least some points of the video. Once again, thank you for watching. Session adjourned.